Friends, welcome to my channel, and today we are going to discuss about the development of the urogenital system. In that we will discuss about the development of kidney in detail, and we are going to discuss about the embryology of the urogenital system under following headings. First we will see the introduction, then we will see the source of the urogenital system, and then we discuss about the intermediate mesoderm, phases of the kidney development of the permanent kidney, and anomalies of the kidney at last. So this urogenital system, why we are combining this urinary system and genital system here? Because the urinary system is concerned with the disposal of the waste products, and genital system is concerned with the propagation of the species. Although they are structurally different, but they have a common developmental background. That is, they both develop from the intermediate mesoderm. So the common source of both this urinary system and genital system is this intermediate mesoderm. That is a part of the embryonic mesoderm. Functionally they work from different angles, but they complement each other as one induces the development of the other system. So they are complementary, and they can induce each other's development, and functionally they work at different angles. So coming to this one, the urogenital system can be divided into two entirely different compounds, that is urinary system and genital system, and the two embryonic structures that play an important role in the development of this urogenital system are this intermediate mesoderm and partly the cloaca. Cloaca is a part of the hindgut, that is post-atlantic part of the hindgut, which is undivided, which will be divided into two parts by the urorectal septum, and it has a role in the formation of urinary organs and also genital organs. So it has some role, but we are focusing our interest on the intermediate mesoderm. So the intraembryonic mesoderm is subdivided into three parts, that is paraxial, intermediate and lateral. Paraxial mesoderm forms somites, which again forms myotomes and dermatomes, and involved in the formation of vertebrae and muscles. This intermediate mesoderm is the source of the urogenital system, whereas lateral plate mesoderm is divided by this coelom into somatopleurotic layer and splanchnopleurotic layer. So when you see the coronal section through the embryo at the end of the third week, you will see the formation of these three germ layers. That is ectoderm, which will differentiate into supersurface and neuroectoderm, mesoderm on either side of the developing notochord, and endoderm covering the yolk sac. So these three germ layers are present, and the urogenital system is derived from the mesoderm, and this mesoderm is divided into three parts. On either side of the developing notochord, that is called as paraxial, and lateral most is called as lateral plate mesoderm. In between paraxial and lateral plate, you will see intermediate mesoderm. You can see there, that is the intermediate mesoderm, and this intermediate mesoderm extends craniocaudally on each side of the primitive dorsal aorta, projecting into the developing coelomic cavity in its dorsal wall. And in cervical and thoracic region, this intermediate mesoderm forms segmentations called as nephrotome, and rest of the unsegmented part is called as nephrogenic cord. You can see there on either side of the dorsal aorta will be here. So on either side of dorsal aorta, you will see the intermediate mesoderm will be here. It extends craniocaudally on either side. You can notice here you can see this is the intermediate mesoderm you are seeing on the left lateral view, whereas here in the horizontal section on either side of this aorta here, you are seeing this intermediate mesoderm. So it is here, intermediate mesoderm is there. So that is visible and it extends here. In the upper part, it shows the segmentations called as nephrotomes, whereas the lower unsegmented part is called as a nephrogenic cord. So these are the parts of the intermediate mesoderm. And if you see here, if you take a coronal section through the developing embryo showing the 3 germ layers, you can see from above to below, you can see the ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm, and you can see there during the folding stage of the developing embryo, there is a lateral folding. You are seeing the coronal section of the developing embryo here. Lateral folds fuse to enclose the yolk sac cavity and form the developing coelomic cavity here, and you can notice the intermediate mesoderm here on either side involved in the development of urogenital system, and you can see it will be extending craniocaudally and opens into the cloaca. So that is about the intermediate mesoderm. Coming to the development of urinary system. So far we discussed what is the source of this urogenital system, that is intermediate mesoderm, and now we are taking the two systems separately. Structurally they have a same developmental background, but functionally they work at different angles. So let us take one by one. First we will see the development of urinary system. In that we will see the kidney, and urinary system is first to exhibit its appearance. Although we have told the urinary and genital system have a common developmental background and they induce each other, but amongst them urinary system is the first one to exhibit its appearance. So you can see here during the lateral folding, that is the intermediate mesoderm. It forms these nephrotomes and tubules there, and during the development of kidney, there are 3 stages of evolution in a cranial to caudal sequence. Pronephrose, which is a temporary or transitory kidney in humans. Mesonephrose, that is also transitory, and metanephrose, which forms permanent kidney. Although we can discuss that only metanephrose, which is forming the permanent kidney, but the pronephrose and mesonephrose also have some role in the development of the permanent kidney. So we have to study them in detail. So these pronephrose, mesonephrose and metanephrose, these are the phases in the evolution of the kidney from fishes to mammals. Always when we say evolution, it is from fishes, amphibians, reptiles, aves and mammals. So these kidneys were there in fishes and amphibians and some reptiles, but they were not compatible for human life, which is quite complex and need to retain a lot of salts, selective reabsorption, glomerular filtration. So for that matter, permanent kidney is developed. But during the development, the kidney shows all these features that we call it as the development of kidney shows the signs of ontogeny repeats phylogeny. Ontogeny means entire evolutionary cycle of humans from fishes to mammals, whereas phylogeny means one life cycle of an individual. So when you are in womb during development, you show all these evolutionary changes that happened millions of years ago or through the millions of years. You are showing all those signs. So development of kidney is one example of such feature. All the organs undergo these feature, but kidney shows them significantly. That's why we say development of kidney follows the pattern of ontogeny repeats the phylogeny. So there are 3 stages. First one we will see pronephrose. At the beginning of the 4th week, the pronephrose is represented by the 7 to 10 solid cell groups or pronephric tubules, which are found in the cervical region and upper thoracic region of the nephrogenic cord that you can see there. That is the pronephrose or pronephric tubules. And it has a duct called as pronephric duct. There will be a duct here that will open into the cloaca that we will discuss. that is there. Pronephric duct, it opens into the cloaca there, ventral part of the cloaca. As you know, the cloaca is divided into primitive urogenital sinus and primitive rectum by the urorectal septum. The ventral part of cloaca forms the bladder. That's where this pronephric duct opens. You can see here, these pronephric tubules are located in the cervical and upper thoracic region. What is the number? 7 to 8. They are 7 to 8 in number. And when you see this pronephric tubule, it has these parts called as external glomerulus, internal glomerulus, and a swelling called as nephrocele. They all open into this pronephric duct because they are arranged in a series here. This nephrocele like this. I am drawing on the right side. So all these tubules join and form the pronephric duct which opens into the cloaca. So it has a external glomerulus and an internal glomerulus and a swelling called as nephrocele and opens into pronephric duct. This is the pronephric duct which opens there. You can see that is the external glomeruli and there is the internal glomeruli, and it has a duct of its own known as a pronephric duct that is there, and this pronephros disappears and has no remnants in the man. Let us see how it works. So the pronephric tubule are the vestigial excretory units which are made up of these tubules and nephrocele and a duct, and this duct descends along the dorsal surface of the nephrogenic cord and ends in the ventral part of the developing cloaca. There you can see the ventral part of developing cloaca, and these are the pronephric tubules. These human pronephros have no function and disappear by the end of the 4th week. Why? Because it has two sets of these structures as you have seen here. So the process of excretion is a bit cumbersome here. So the external glomerulus release the waste material in the coelomic cavity. It is taken up by this tubule, pronephric tubule, and filtered by internal glomerulus. Then it is excreted via this pronephric duct, and it is very time consuming, and it doesn't work in humans. It is not compatible with humans, which require efficient mechanism of waste disposal and also reabsorbed solutes. There is no process of absorption or excretion and selective reabsorption here, and it is time consuming. So it is not compatible with human life. It disappears without any remnants. But the pronephric duct will remain. But this pronephric tubule or pronephros persist as permanent kidney in cyclostome and some teleost fishes. But pronephric duct ending in the cloaca, however, persists. So pronephric duct will be retained and it will continue as the mesonephric duct after development of the next evolutionary phase, that is mesonephros. So although pronephros has failed in forming the efficient excretory system of the humans, it will disappear, but before leaving it gives a gift to the mesonephros in the form of pronephric duct. So mesonephros receive that duct and name it as mesonephric duct. Let us see the mesonephros now. You have seen the pronephros, mesonephros. So mesonephros consists of series of 70 to 80 excretory tubules that develop in thoracolumbar region, and these tubules drain into the pronephric duct, which now is called as mesonephric duct. Whereas the pronephric tubules were 7 to 8 in number, they were in cervical and upper thoracic region, whereas mesonephric tubules are 70 to 80 in number and in the thoracolumbar region. As you know, they are situated in the lower and thoracic lumbar regions that you can see there. Non-segmental mesonephric tubules are also there. So what are the components of mesonephros? It has a mesonephric tubules and a mesonephric duct. So mesonephric tubules, they receive the waste products from the blood vessels, they filter that, and via mesonephric duct it reaches the cloaca for the waste disposal. So when you see here, the medial end of mesonephric tubule do not communicate with the coelomic cavity, unlike the pronephric tubule. In the pronephric tubule, you have seen they were communicating with the coelomic cavity, but there is no communication with the coelomic cavity here. And it has only one glomerulus, and that blind medial end, the blind medial end, what is here? It is indented to receive the blood vessels from the dorsal aorta, forming the internal glomerulus. Here, you can see there. Yes, and the mesonephric tubule is S-shaped, consists of the medial secretory part lined by the tall columnar epithelium, that is the secretory part, and lateral absorptive part, that is lined by cuboidal cells. So the mesonephric tubule has a medial blind end. It will be received by the internal glomerulus, and tubule becomes S shape here. It becomes S shape, has a medial secretory part and lateral absorptive part. And at any given point of time, you don't see more than 30 to 40 mesonephric tubules. Although there will be 70 to 80, but at any given point of time, 30 to 40 will be working, other will be degenerating. Why? We'll see next. And around 5th week, the degeneration of tubules begin, and at about 8th week, only 26 tubules with mesonephric duct persist in each sex. You can see there. And in the middle of the second month, what happens there? Mesonephros forms a large ovoid organ medial to it on each side of the midline. This is the ovoid organ what we are talking about, that is called as genital ridge, which forms the future gonad, testis in males, ovaries in females. So here comes the genital system during the development of the urinary system, and this genital or undifferentiated gonad will form the future testis or ovary depending upon the germ cells that will be there. And here you can notice that you are seeing the entire mesonephros here, and here that is the gonad on the medial side on either side of the dorsal aorta here, that is, see, you are seeing the gut tube there. And this mesonephros disappears in the humans but persists as permanent kidney in amphibians and most fishes, which is compatible with them, and does not develop a duct of its own because it is receiving the pronephric duct, which is now called as mesonephric duct. So it doesn't have a duct of its own, which is opening into cloaca, and it does not form a permanent kidney in higher vertebrates like humans because it does not have a function of selective reabsorption of the glomerular filtration back to blood. Because humans live on, we are land animals, we need the reabsorption of solutes. We can't lose solutes. So there is no reabsorption, and the pH balance or electrolyte balance is not maintained efficiently by this excretory system. So it also disappear except the mesonephric duct and some mesonephric tubules. So as I already told you, there will be a formation of gonad on the medial side of the mesonephros. Many mesonephric tubules open into this gonad and form the effective duct system in males. They are called as efferent ductules of the testis. Then it forms epididymis, ductus deferens, then it forms ejaculator duct. So efferent ductules, epididymis, vas deferens, then ultimately ejaculator duct are formed by the mesonephric tubules in males. So, but most part of the tubules are modified and take part in the formation of duct system of testis, but they disappear in female, or they are called as the tubules of epiophoron and paraophoron. Whereas before disappearing, this mesonephros and mesonephric duct gives a extension called as ureteric bud, which forms the collecting part of the kidneys in both sexes. So mesonephric tubule, some of them modified to form the duct system of the testis, whereas mesonephric duct gives a diverticulum called as ureteric bud, which forms the collecting part of the kidney in both sexes, whereas mesonephric tubules disappear in female. So that is about the tubules. You can see here the earlier tubules are disappearing, and later only 26 will be there, and most of them form duct system of the testis. And before leaving, the mesonephric duct gives an extension called as ureteric bud, which forms the duct system of the developing kidney, that we'll discuss. Coming to the metanephros or the permanent kidney, it appears in the 5th week, and the permanent kidney has two sources, a secretory part and collecting part. The secretory part is formed by the metanephric blastema, that is derived from the metanephros, and a collecting part by the ureteric bud, that is derived from the mesonephric duct. So mesonephros, before leaving the human body or before disappearing from the human development, gives a gift in the form of mesonephric duct that gives a ureteric bud, which forms the collecting part of the permanent kidney. You can see there. So this is the metanephros, and this is the ureteric bud derived from the mesonephric duct, which is derived from the pronephric duct. So pronephros disappears, giving pronephric duct to mesonephros, and mesonephros disappears, giving mesonephric duct to permanent kidney. So when they don't form the efficient excretory system, they are giving a gift in the form of duct system. And these mesonephric tubules, they form duct system of the testis in males. Of course, they form the reproductive tract in males, but disappear in females. Remember that. And this excretory tubules or nephrons are derived from the lower part of the nephrogenic cord. It is a part of the metanephros, derived from the metanephric blastema. And collecting part of the kidney is formed by the diverticulum of the mesonephric duct, called as ureteric bud. So collecting part and secretory part and collecting part, you can see here how the ureteric bud is coming there. So ureteric bud is derived from the, initially it is lateral and below this mesonephric duct, but as the mesonephric duct is absorbed into development of bladder, that is trigon of the bladder, it will change its direction. It comes to lie medially and above, and it will open finally into developing bladder there. You can see. So mesonephric duct forms here. It opens here in the form of ejaculatory duct, and there will be a trigone here that is formed by the absorption of mesonephric duct. So this is how the ureteric bud is formed. You can see there. So initially it was lying below and lateral to mesonephric duct, but it will lie medial and above because of the rotation of the ureteric bud due to absorption of mesonephric duct into formation of this trigone of the urinary bladder. So metanephric kidney is formed by two sources. One is mesonephric duct and one is metanephric blastema. So ureteric bud, it penetrates into metanephric tissue, which covers the distal end of the bud as a cap, and subsequently the bud will grow and add to form the ampulla, and that ampulla divides repeatedly. So you can see there. So here will be your metanephric tissue, and here is your ureteric bud. It will go like this and forms ampulla, and each ampulla again goes into division, further division like this, and forms the collecting system there that we will see. The first 3 to 5 generation of the branches from the ampulla of the developing ureteric bud fuse to form the pelvis. The next division forms the major calyces and minor calyces and collecting tubules. You can see here how it will go from the 2 ampulla to multiple ampulla, and how they go on branching and rebranching. The first few generations will form the pelvis, major calyces, minor calyces, and they go on to form till the formation of collecting tubule. So till the collecting tubule, it is formed by the ureteric bud that is derived from the mesonephric duct, and the ureteric bud gives rise to this ureter, renal pelvis, major and minor calyces, approximately 1 to 3 billions of the collecting tubules, and each newly formed collecting tubule is covered at the distal end by the metanephric cap or tissue cap. Under the inductive influence of the tubule, cells of the tissue cap form the vesicle and they form nephrons. So after the repeated branching here, the ureteric bud enters into metanephric tissue, undergoes repeated branching, and the tissue which is covering one collecting tubule is called as metanephric cap, It forms a renal vesicle here. This vesicle undergoes S-shaped part to form the glomerulus, proximal cavernous tubule, loop of Fendley and distal cavernous tubule, and they fuse with the collecting tubule. So here is the part. This secretory part is formed by metanephric blastema, and this collecting part is formed by the ureteric bud. Remember that. And you can see here how the tissue is forming there, metanephric caps, and then they form renal vesicle, and then they form a S-shaped developing nephron, and nephron will differentiate into glomerular capsule, PCT, loop of Fendley and DCT, and they finally have a union with each other. So metanephric blastema, the distal end is covered by the tissue and which is received by tuft of capillaries which form a glomerulus, and nephrons form a S-shaped different parts. You can see there. So what are the developmental phase in the development of nephron? First there will be metanephric cap, renal vesicle, then nephron. You can see there. So other capillaries derived from the lateral branch of the dorsal aorta, they go and form the glomeruli there. You can see here tuft of capillaries. So this is about the 3 stages of development in the kidney. Pronephros, they are found only in the cervical region and 7 to 18 number. The pronephric tubules disappear. They give rise to pronephric duct. They give it to mesonephros as a gift. Mesonephros, they are 70 to 18 number. At any point of given time, they are around 30 to 40. They also do not form permanent kidney because there is no selective reabsorption. And before leaving, some of the mesonephric tubule form duct system in male. They disappear in females, whereas mesonephric duct gives ureteric bud, which forms the collecting part of the permanent kidney, that is metanephros. So that is about the 3 phases of development. Let us see here. Ascent of the kidney. So this metanephric kidney is present in the pelvis, and the normal kidneys are present in the abdomen. So it will undergo ascent, and this ascent of kidney is by the diminution of the body curvature, growth of the body in lumbar and sacral regions, lengthening of ureter, and also in search of better nutrition. So 4 factors are involved in the ascent of the kidney, that is body curvature, growth, lengthening of ureter, then in search of better nutrition, because pelvis has only internal iliac arteries, abdomen has aorta, so there will be better nutrition in the abdomen. That's why kidney will ascend there. And here you can see how this pronephric tubules will be there in the cervical and upper thoracic region. And this is about the mesonephros. Mesonephros has 70 to 80 mesonephric tubules, but at any given point of time there will be only 30 to 40, and at the end of the 8th week 26 will be there. Many will disappear. Some will form the duct system in the males. In females they will disappear or degenerate as tubules of apophoron, paraophoron. You can see the mesonephric duct, which is derived from the pronephros opening into the cloaca here, ventral part of the cloaca, forming the urinary bladder. So you can see there cloaca, mesonephric duct and mesonephros. You can see there, if you take a section, how does these mesonephric tubules are there. They have an internal glomerulus, S-shaped body. Middle part is secretory, lateral part is absorptive. That is not compatible with humans because there is no selective reabsorption. How does permanent kidneys form? It is formed by the metanephros in the pelvic region, and ureteric bud derived from this mesonephric duct. So this ureteric bud invaginates into the metanephric tissue, goes on branching and rebranching, forming multiple generations of the branching there till the collecting tubules. This ureter, pelvis, major and minor calyces, collecting duct, they all are formed by this ureteric bud. And how does nephrons are formed? The metanephric tissue, which is covering the end of the this blind collecting tubule is called as metanephric cap. It forms the renal vesicle, and renal vesicle forms the S-shaped nephron, and that developing nephron differentiates into the different parts of the nephron like Bowman's capsule, PCT, DCT, loop of Henle, and finally they join with each other, leading to the establishment of connection between the collecting part and secretory part. So ascent of the kidney you can see there. So what are the factors? Lengthening of the ureter, diminution of the body curvature, smaller pelvis, and in search of better nutrition, kidney will ascend. And after the ascent in the abdomen, each kidney, they have hilum of the kidney directed ventrally. When it reaches to the permanent position, they undergo 90-degree medial rotation so that they have a permanent position, adult position. You can see there how they are ascending and undergoing rotation, medial 90-degree around a vertical axis. And coming to the anomalies, depending upon number, urgencies or multiple kidneys, that is due to the absence of metanephros or multiple regions of the metanephros. According to position, they may be in the pelvis itself, pelvic kidney, or sometimes both the kidneys are fused, that we call it as fused kidney. And according to shape, horseshoe shaped kidney or discoid or pancake kidney. In horseshoe kidney, the lower poles of both the kidneys are fused to each other here, and pancake kidney, they will form a one mass like a pancake because of the fusion between the two kidneys there. And rotation anomalies are there. What is the usual rotation? 90-degree medial rotation, but sometimes one will undergo medial rotation, one will undergo lateral rotation, and sometimes the both undergo circumferential rotation there. So these are the anomalies in the rotation. And if there is no fusion between the collecting tubule and metanephric tissue, it leads to a disease called as polycystic kidney disease, because there is no fusion between the secretory part and collecting part, leading to the cysts filled with fluid, polycystic kidney. And the kidney is one of the organs which has numerous variations in the arterial supply, that you note here. So many variations will be there, and extrarenal arteries is there, because kidney is not abdominal in position during development. It was in pelvis, but it comes to abdomen in search of better nutrition. So all these factors you should remember in the development of kidney. What are the different phases? How does the permanent kidney is formed, the collecting part and secretory part, and how does it ascend? What are the factors? Why it rotates? What are the factors? These are all things with anomalies you should remember to understand the congenital anomalies of the kidney. Hope it's good for you. See you in the next session. Thank you.